What's up, YouTube? Before I get into the video, let me remind you, if you like my content, hit that like and subscribe button. And also, if you feel the need to support me, hit me up on my Patreon at patreon.com/uncommonramen, capital U, capital R. I do all this in my free time, so any amount of support can help me bring more of this content to you more often. All right, today we are going to be looking at the Beamtown Bullies. We're going to create a deck that will most assuredly destroy every friendship you ever had. I truly believe this. Alright, Beamtown Bullies is a Jund commander. So we're looking at 1, a black, a red, and a green. It is a 4/4 with Vigilance and Haste. You can tap it to have target opponent... Sorry. You can tap it, and target opponent, whose turn it is, puts target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under their control. It gains Haste, goad it. At the beginning of the next end step, exile it. Okay, so this is pretty simple. We're going to put the absolutely worst creatures that you could possibly want on your side into the graveyard, and, well, we're going to bully people. Okay, let's start with creatures. Ooh, there's a lot of these. Yep. Okay. Starting with Anger. This is 3 in a red for a 2/2 with haste as long as Anger is in your graveyard and you control a mountain. Creatures you control have haste. We have Avatar of Woe for 6 and 2 black. It is a 6/5. If there are 10 or more creature cards total in all graveyards, Avatar of Woe costs 6 less to play. Avatar of Woe can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. You can tap it to destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Birds of Paradise is 1 for a 0/1 with flying. You can tap to add any mana to your one mana of any color to your mana pool. Boldware Heavyweights for 2 and 2 red is an 8/8 with trample. When Boldware Heavyweights comes into the play, each opponent may search his or her library for a creature card, put it into play. Then each player who searched his or her deck this way shuffles it. Got Bronze Bombshell for 4. It's a 4/1 when a player other than Bronze Bombshell's owner controls it, that player sacrifices it. If that player does, Bronze Bombshell deals 7 damage to him or her. Got Corpse Connoisseur for 4 and a black. It is a 3/3. When Corpse Connoisseur enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card, put that card into your graveyard. If you do, shuffle your library. It has Unearth for 3 and a black. Got Deathrite Shaman for 1 hybrid black-green. It is a 1/2. You can tap it to exile target land from a graveyard to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. You can pay 1 black and tap it to exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard and have each opponent lose 2 life. And you can pay 1 green and tap it to exile target creature card from a graveyard to gain 2 life. Got Dragon's Mage. 5 and 2 red for a 5/5 with flying. When Dragon Mage deals combat damage to a player, each player discards his or her hand, then draws 7 cards. Got Eater of Days for 4. It is a 9/8 with flying and trample. When Eater of Days comes into play, you skip your next 2 turns. Got Ebonblade Reaper for 2 and a black. It is a 1/1. When Ebonblade Reaper attacks, you lose half your life rounded up. When Ebonblade Reaper deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half his or her life rounded up. It has Morph for 3 and 2 black. Got Eternal Witness for 2 and 2 green. Sorry, 1 and 2 green, my bad. 2/1. When Eternal Witness enters the battlefield, you may return a target card from your graveyard to your hand. Got Fauna Shaman for 1 and a green. Is a 2/2. For 1 green, you can tap this, discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Got Flare of the Hatebound for 5 and a red. It is a 4/2 with Undying. When Flare of the Hatebound or another creature enters the battlefield from your graveyard, that creature deals damage equal to its power to any target. We got Golgari Grave Troll for 4 and a green. It is a 0/0. Golgari Grave Troll enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each creature card in your graveyard. You can pay 1 and remove a counter from Golgari Grave Troll to regenerate it. And yeah, it has Dredge 6. Got Golgari Thug for 1 and a black. It's a 1/1. Golgari Thug. When Golgari Thug dies, put target creature card from a graveyard on top of your library. It has Dredge 4. Got Hellcarver Demon for 3 and 3 black. It is a 6/6 with flying. When Hellcarver Demon deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice all other permanents you control and discard your hand. Exile the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast any number of non-9 cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. Hermit Druid for 1 and a green is a 1/1. You can pay 1 green and tap this to reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a basic land card. Put that card into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Ignoble Hierarch for 1 green. It is a 0/1. It has Exalted, and you can tap this for 1 black, 1 red, or 1 green. Inverter of Truth for 2 and 2 black. It is a 6/6 with Devoid. It has Flying. When Inverter of Truth enters the battlefield, exile all cards from your library face down. Then shuffle all cards from your graveyard into your library. Got Leveler for 5. It is a 10/10. When Leveler enters the battlefield, exile all cards from your library. We got Auric Lore Mage for 2 and 2 black. It is a 3/3. You can tap this to search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle. If it's an instant or sorcery card, put a +1/+1 counter on Auric Lore Mage. We have Pathrazor of Ulamog for 11. It is a 9/9 with Annihilator 3. Pathrazor of Ulamog can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. We got Phyrexian Negator for 2 and a black. It is a 5/5 with Trample. When Phyrexian Negator is dealt damage, sacrifice that many permanents. We have Ramunap Excavator for 2 and a green. It is a 2/3. You may play land cards from your graveyard. I have Royal Assassin for 1 and 2 black. It is a 1/1. You can tap it to destroy target tapped creature. Sakura Tribe Elder for 1 and a green. It is a 1/1. You can sacrifice Sakura Tribe Elder to search your library for a basic land card. Put that card onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Seedborn Muse for 3 and 2 green. It is a 2/4. Untap all permanents you control during each player's untap step. Skull Prophet for 1 black and 1 green. It is a 3/1. You can tap it to add a black or a green, and you can also tap it to put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Got Soulgorger Org for 3 and 2 red. Is a 6/6 with Trample. When Soulgorger Org comes into play, you lose all but 1 life. When Soulgorger Org leaves play, you gain life equal to the life you lost when it came into play. We have Stinkweed Imp. For 2 and a black, it is a 1/2 with Flying. When Stinkweed Imp deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature, and it has Dredge 5. Stitcher's Supplier for 1 black, it is a 1/1. When Stitcher's Supplier enters the battlefield or dies, mill 3 cards. Tempting Worm for 1 and a green, it is a 5/5. When Tempting Worm comes into play, each opponent may put any number of artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and or land cards from his or her hand into play. Violent Tumor for 2 and a black, it's a 2/2 with Death Touch. When Violent Tumor enters the battlefield, search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle. World Shaper for 3 and a green, it's a 3/3. Whenever World Shaper attacks, you may mill 3 cards. When World Shaper dies, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And then finally, World Gorger Dragon for 3 and 3 red. It is a 7/7 flying trample. When World Gorger Dragon comes into play, remove all permanents you control from the game. When it leaves play, return all removed cards to play under their owner's control. Next up is instants. We got Assassin's Trophy. Destroy target permanent an opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle their library. Beast Within, destroy target permanent. Its controller gets a 3/3 beast. Electric Revelation for 2 and a red. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card. Draw 2 cards. It has flashback for 3 and a red. Entomb for 1 black. Search your library for a card. Put it into the graveyard, then shuffle. Grisly Salvage for 1 black and 1 green. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature or land card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. Terra Sunder for 1 and a green. It has Kicker for 1 and a black. Exile target artifact or enchantment. If the spell was kicked, exile target non-land permanent instead. Got Terminate for 1 black and 1 red. Destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. And we have Thrill of Possibility for 1 and a red. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card. Draw 2 cards. Next up is sorceries. We got Blasphemous Act for 8 and a red. Costs 1 less for each creature that's on the battlefield, and it deals 13 damage to each creature. Buried Alive for 2 and a black. Search your library for up to 3 creature cards. Put them into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. Cathartic Reunion for 1 and a red. As an additional cost to cast Cathartic Reunion, discard 2 cards, draw 3 cards. Faithless Looting for 1 red. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Flashback for 2 and a red. Farseek for 1 and a green. Search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain card. Put that onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Final Parting for 3 and 2 black. Search your library for 2 cards. Put them put one into your hand, the other into your graveyard, then shuffle. Jared's orders. 2 a black and a green. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards. Reveal them. Put one into your hand, the other into a graveyard, then shuffle. Life from the Loam. 1 and a green. Return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand. It has dredge 3. Persist for 1 and a black. Return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. Reanimate for 1 black. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. 3 visits for 1 and a green. Search your library for a forest card. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Tormenting Voice for 1 and a red. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card. Draw 2 cards. Unmarked Grave for 1 and a black. Search your library for a non-legendary card. Put that card onto the graveyard, then shuffle. Next up is Artifacts. We got Arcane Signet. Cost 2, you can tap it for any 1 mana in your color identity. We got Conduit of Worlds for 2 and a green. You may play lands from your graveyard. You can tap this to choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Despotic Scepter for 1 white, 1 colorless. Tap, bury target permanent you own. Lightning Greaves for 2. Equipped creature gets haste and shroud. Equips for 0. Soul Ring for 1. You can tap this to add 2 colors to your mana pools. Staff of Completion for 3. You can tap this, pay a life, destroy target permanent you own. You can tap this, pay 2 life, add 1 mana of any color. You can tap this, pay 3 life to proliferate. You can tap this, pay 4 life to draw a card, and you can pay 5 to untap this. And then we got Thornbite Staff for 2. Equipped creature has 2. Tap, this creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player. And whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, untap this creature. Whenever a shaman creature comes into play, you may attach Thornbite Staff to it, and it equips for 4. Okay, next up is enchantments. We've got Animate Dead for 1 and a black. Enchant creature card in a graveyard. When an Animate Dead enters the battlefield, it just basically enchants a creature that's in the graveyard, and then if that creature, if this enchantment leaves the battlefield, that creature leaves the battlefield, enchanted creature gets -1/-0. There's a lot of text in there because enchantments can't come in without a target, and this changes from an enchantment to an aura when that has a target. So lots of weird text there. Cemetery Tampering for 2 and a black. Hideaway 5. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 3 cards. Then, if there are 20 or more cards in your graveyard, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Then we got Tortured Existence for 1 black. You can pay 1 black to choose and discard a creature card and return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Next up is Planeswalkers. We have Grist the Hungering Tide for 1, a black, and a green. It has 3 starting loyalty. As long as Grist the Hungering Tide isn't on the battlefield, it's a 1/1 insect creature in addition to its other types. For +1, create a 1/1 black-green insect creature token, then mill a card. If an insect card is milled this way, put a loyalty counter on Grist and repeat the process. For -2, you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker. For -5, each opponent loses life equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Okay, next up is going to be non-basic lands. Here we got Blightstep Pathway, which is the MDFC for black-red. Bojuka Bog enters tapped. When it enters, exile target player's graveyard, and it taps for black. Cinderglade counts as a mountain or forest. Enters tapped unless you control 2 basic lands. 2 or more basic lands. Command Tower, you can tap it for your color identity. Dakmor Salvage, enters tapped, taps for black, and also is dredge 2. Darkboar Pathway, which is the MDFC for black and green. Deathcap Glade, which is a check land for black-green. Dragon Skull Summit, which is a check land for black-red. Exotic Orchard, which taps for color mana based on your opponent's colors. Fabled Passage, which fetches for a basic land and puts it into play tapped unless you have, how many? 4 or more lands in play. Haunted Ridge is another check land for black-red. Luxury Suite is a crowd land for black-red. Reflecting Pool, you can add a mana to your mana pool of any type that a land you control produces. Rockfall Vale is another check land for red-green. Rootbound Crag, another check land for red-green. Savage Lands, a Triumph for black, red, green. Smoldering Marsh is another, counts as a swamp and mountain. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Spire Garden, Crowdland for red, green. Svogvos, the Restless Tomb. Taps for colorless, or you can pay 3, a black and a green. Until end of turn, Svogvos, the Restless Tomb, becomes a black and green plant zombie creature with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. It's still a land. Takanuma, Abandoned Mire. You can tap this for black. You can channel this for 3 and a black and discard it. Mill 3 cards, then return a creature or planeswalker card from the graveyard to your hand. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. Undergrowth Stadium is a crowdland for black-green. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. Woodland Cemetery, another check land for black-green. Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Each land is a forest in addition to its other types. Zeator's Proving Ground, a Triome for black, red, green that also has basic land typings. Okay, and lastly, we're going to look at basic lands. We have 1, 2 forests, 2 mountains, and 3 swamps. So this is the Beamtown Bullies. Basically, the idea is to use all kinds of milling outlets to get really horrible creatures into your graveyard, like Ebonblade Reaper and stuff like that, forcing your opponents to attack with those things and get really bad results from it. Things like Eater of Days to make your opponents lose turns, Leveler, which will just cause an instant loss for a player, and stuff like that. You can use Royal Assassin, Avatar of Woe, Despotic Scepter to kill the creature before the end of the turn, so that it forces it back into your graveyard before it gets exiled via that ability. There's also a weird interaction with the Soul Gorger Org and the World Gorger Dragon, which is if you put it into play and then you use Beamtown Bully to give it to somebody and then respond to the trigger of giving it to somebody using something like Despotic Scepter or Avatar of Woe to destroy it, the destroy trigger actually will happen before the second trigger. So they'll get the beneficial trigger first, then they'll get the less beneficial trigger second and be stuck with nothing, either 1 life or no permanence. So it's really disgusting. This deck will absolutely destroy your friendships. So yeah, go have fun with that. And that is the Beamtown Bullies. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. And yeah, let's keep it positive, guys. I'll remove negative comments. And until next time, peace.